Alright, 1.4 is called on sale. So this is about discounts. Discounts like when you're in a store and they say something would be 20% off. So what does it mean to be 20% off or 30% off? How do you calculate a discount? And then what would you pay for the item after the discount's been taken off? So at first they're just going to ask you to figure out how much the discount is, not how much you pay. So it's similar to above, or similar to the last section, where you take your percentages, make them decimals, of course by dividing 100, and then you always times by the total you're interested in. In this case it's the price of the computer. So for this one, 0.3 times 989.98, and after rounding you have 99 cents. So this is the savings, not what you're going to pay. Okay, bakery, 60% discount. We have original price $2.98. How much do you save? So exact same question. Make the percent a decimal times the price, and I'll just write down what the calculator says, and then after rounding, $1.79. This one would round the hundredth up, so you'd save $1.79. That's not how much you pay, by the way. Number 3 is identical, so we'll just keep going. Alright, so the next example will be about what's the cost after a discount. So basically you find out how much the savings are, and then you subtract those savings from the original price. Alright, so this one says here's a price. So here's the 30% reduction. So how much do you pay? So again, it's always the same first step, where you turn the percentage into the decimal. Don't forget, that's divide 100. Just moves the decimal twice. And then you always multiply by the price, the total price. So 0.30 times 24.95, 7485. So after rounding, 5 rounds it up, so 749. This is your savings. How much do you pay? Take the original price, subtract the savings, you pay $17.46. Alright, so next one. The store advertises that if you buy 3 items, you get 15% off the most expensive item, 20% off the second most expensive, and 30% off the cheapest. So you choose 3 items. So let's just rank them in order of price. So we have $10, $12, and $25. How much will you pay for the 3 items? So we need to find the discounts first. So for the cheapest item, you get 30% off. The second item, you get 20% off. And the most expensive item, you get 15% off. So these calculations, remember, are your savings, not what you pay. So I'm just calculating these. Alright, so remember, these are the savings. So For the first item, you'd pay 7. For the second item, you pay 960. And for the last item, you're paying 21.25. Alright, this next one says that normally this person charges $75 to paint the room. However, if you paint 3 or more, there's a 15% discount. So how much will he charge if he paints the 4 rooms? So if you read it carefully, it says it's $75 per room. So times that by the 4 rooms. Those of course cancel, and you end up with 75 times 4, $300. Don't forget about the 15% discount. Always make a decimal and then multiply. So 0.15 times 300, $45. That's your savings. So subtract 45 from that original amount. You're paying $255 to the person to paint your rooms. Alright, let's just keep moving along here. Oh, okay, now they're talking about this thing called markdown. Markdown is identical to markup, except instead of adding like you did last unit, you're going to subtract. Okay, so what is the percentage markdown if a $175 item sells for $150? Okay, so in order to calculate the percentage, first of all, to calculate a percentage, you need a part divided by a whole times 100. So in this case, you need to decide what the part and the whole is. The whole is always the easiest one to figure out. It's the total. It's a $175 item. Okay, so that's the whole. That's the easy part. Now, if it says what is the percentage markdown, you need to figure out what the markdown is. The markdown is the part that you're interested in. So if it's sold for $150 and it was originally $175, you have to just subtract to figure out that the markdown is actually 25. So that's the ratio you need. Then you times it by 100 to get the percent. So after rounding, it's about a 14% markdown. The next one says buy 4 get 1 free, and it says what is the discounted rate as a percent. Alright, so basically what's happening here is you are getting 5 shirts for the price of 4. So 5 times 15.97, this is going to be your whole. This is the total. Okay, this is your total, or your whole. And the discount, you're saving, you get one free shirt. One free shirt is worth $15.97. That's your part, so part to whole ratio. And this is 0.2, so times that by 100. And it's a 20% discounted rate. Alright, the next question is identical. Let's write a little formula for you. So savings divided by total times 100 is equal to the percent discount. And that's something I would probably jot down on a formula sheet. Alright, so for this one, each computer costs $7.89. He's told that he's going to buy 5 computers and get a 6th one free. What will be his percent saving compared to buying all 6 at the regular price? So times that by 6 times his price for 1 by 6. So if you were to buy everything for the exact cost, it would cost $4,734. He's going to get 1 free, so he's going to save $789. Times that by 100. And you get 16.6, so let's just round that up, 17% discount. Alright, these next questions involve savings and then tax. So for this question, 30% discount, the original price, and then 5% GST. So first things first, take that price, times it by the discount, get $44.70. So with a discounted percent, you subtract, so 149 take away 44.70. $104.30. So that's the discount. Now you have to add on the GST. So you take that discounted rate, times it by GST, which is 5%. So you have to convert that to decimal like always. Times by the discounted price. It's 5215, so round that up, 522. And remember, with GST, like a sales tax, you have to add it on. So you would pay 109.52. Okay, so what's happening in this question? Let's reiterate. So there's 2%. Make them decimals. For the percentage of, for the discount, you subtract. For the percentage of the tax, you add. Okay, so Nicole wants to buy a coat originally priced at $249.95. It's on sale 25% off. So figure out the savings. $62.49 after rounding. So subtract that from your original price. Now you need to do the tax. So it's 5% GST and a 5% PST. So let's harmonize those for 10%. So 0.10. Okay, so here we go with the 10% tax. So take my 187.46 times by 0.10. 18.75 after rounding. This has to get added on because it's a tax. So you're going to end up paying $206.21. Alright, so this question wants us to determine total savings, including the GST. So I'm going to do this, I'm going to do the question twice, basically, once with the discount and once without. So if you just were to buy it at the regular price, and you would have a 5% and an 8%, so that's 13%, so 0.13. When you times those together, you get 32.49. So add that on to the original price. you would end up paying after tax $282.44. Now what we have to do is the discounted price. So $249.95 times the 40% discount. So 249 times 0.4 and 99.98. So after the discount, you would pay $149.97. Don't forget about the 13% tax. So this $149.97 times 13% tax would be $19.50 after tax. So right away you can tell there's going to be a nice reduction in the taxes that you have to pay. So that's good. And so add that on. Getting 169.47. Alright, so to determine the total savings, you're going to have to take the regular price, subtract, okay, so the regular price, I'll just do it here, regular price, subtract the discounted price, and this is of course after tax. So this is the savings. Remember to calculate the percentage of savings. You're going to want to use that formula I gave earlier. Savings divided by total price times 100. So savings divided by total price times 100. So after rounding, this is about a 40% discount, which is identical to what the question told us. So I'm not quite sure what they're going for in part B here. Alright, moving on. Oh, homework. Okay, so good luck.